What's up, y'all? At first, I was pretty shocked that the New York Knicks overcame their 53-year title drought and won the championship over Wemby and the Spurs. But the more I thought about it and the more I looked into it, the more I heard from Wemby and Mitch Johnson versus what I heard from Jalen Brunson and Mike Brown, I wasn't as surprised. Obviously, despite the series being a gentleman's sweep, it was still a very close series. I firmly believe the mentality difference between Wemby and Mitch versus Jalen and Mike Brown was the difference in the series. Let's get into it. So firstly, why were so many of us surprised the Knicks won? Well, to get into the recent playoff history first, Jalen Brunson to this point had alternated between spectacular 40-point takeover games with terrible efficiency stinkers where he compounded it with killer turnovers in the closing seconds. His main issue was the same problem I've long had with Jason Tatum, not having a mastery of turning the corner or splitting of double teams, and also being unwilling to pass out of it until it's too late. Against great teams in the playoffs, eventually there will be a clutch fourth quarter situation where this will rear its ugly head. The most famous instance from Brunson being against the 8th seeded Heat 3 years ago. But he's steadily improved this in the last few years, winning Clutch Player of the Year in 2025. But at his 6'2" height, I was still not convinced he could do it against the elite defenses like the Thunder and the Spurs. But the East was certainly more wide open this year, with perennial studs like Joel Embiid, Tyrese Halliburton, and Giannis having weaker and injury-riddled teams. I also didn't have great belief in the Knicks because their best player should be Cat with his incredible skill set, but he has always proven to be a follower and inconsistent in big games. But the Knicks made the right decision firing Tom Thibodeau and hiring Mike Brown, who has long been an underrated coach in this league and got his career minimized by LeBron and Rich Paul after back-to-back number 1 overall seeded playoff flameouts, which he wrongly took the fall for. Now let's get into these guys' mindsets. Jalen Brunson obviously has a chip on his shoulder. He clearly has built a good rapport with his teammates, starting with, of course, the Villanova Knicks. But really, Cat and Mikal Bridges were always going to be the two who needed the most love from him, being that they both were briefly number 1 options on their teams before coming to New York. People forget, you could pencil in Cat for 25 and 10 in Minnesota pre and post Jimmy Butler, and Mikal for 25 and 7 in Brooklyn. But in New York, Jalen would be the number 1 option, and the number 2 option would change almost nightly between the other 4 high-minute players, with even Josh Hart and OG Anunoby often being the second leading scorer. Now, how did he win them all over and help convince them to take on different roles? He treated them with respect in interviews and press conferences. To me, when Shea does this, it comes across as a bit insincere and contrived. But when Jalen glows about his teammates, you can tell he really cares about them. Outside of the media also, he clearly spends a lot of time with Villanova teammate Josh Hart, and they built great chemistry, especially in press conferences. There have been superstars that have won without having the best rapport with teammates, but it's exceedingly rare. If you can have great chemistry, it'll go a long way towards pinpointing your future success. The Knicks for sure had the best chemistry and least drama of any contender this season, and that's a credit to Brunson and Mike Brown. Now quickly to Mike Brown. Obviously, nobody on the Knicks cared about regular season. With all the playoffs experience they've had in the last 3 years, it was definitely finals or bust in their mind. Mike Brown was brilliant this whole run of keeping the egos in check, getting everyone to buy into their role, and quietly out-coaching each matchup he had. His work against the Cavs was especially brilliant. In the NBA each year, there are still many front offices and coaches clinging to old strategies and relying on reputation of players over reality. The Cavs trading James Harden for Darius Garland, outside of potentially maybe Darius being a locker room cancer that we didn't know about, that's just crazy. And what makes it worse is James could even opt in for the $48 million next year and they'd be screwed even farther. Mike Brown not only does not have this issue, he quickly figured out the strengths of this team is the good chemistry and the work ethic and defense of guys like Bridges, Josh Hart, and OG Anunoby, and not the flashy star power of Brunson and Cat. He leaned into that against the Cavs, who were relying way too much on their star power. They knew that James Harden had too much of an ego to accept not playing in the fourth quarter, and Donovan Mitchell is not one to pass when doubled on the perimeter. He'll live and die with stepbacks and floaters. They fully leaned into that and forced the Cavs into inefficient offensive possessions and terrorized James Harden on defense. Just completely outcoached. Quick disclaimer, to be fair to Kenny Atkinson, he didn't trade for James Harden though, that was Kobe Altman, the Cavs president. Now to Wemby and Mitch Johnson. The advantage every young coach has in the league is they have energy, they are usually good with analytics, and they can really relate to the players. The downside is, Mitch being 39 years old, you don't have a lot of cachet and respect, so the only way to get some of the guys to follow you is to essentially suck up and be an enabler. Sure, some of the role players you can yell at or bench people that aren't fulfilling their role, but superstars and vets, it's much harder. And unfortunately for Mitch, who I think did a good job with X's and O's in this playoff run, especially defensively, this caught up with him in the finals. Wemby and De'Aaron Fox, on paper the Spurs' two best players, got thoroughly outplayed by Cat and Jalen Brunson, the Knicks' two best players. Now if you factor in defense, it was closer than the stats would tell you. But it still was, along with the mentality issues with Wemby we're about to get into, the difference in the series. Now first to Mitch Johnson and De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox is still an excellent player, and I think in R.C. Buford, the Spurs president's perfect world, when they made this trade, Fox would carry the offensive load at times so Wemby could keep his stamina and focus on defense. But he's not a bulldog body type like Jalen Brunson is, so at 6'3", Fox has clearly had trouble post-injuries to rely on blazing speed anymore. He still has an elite pull-up jumper, which was his bread and butter in Sacramento, but it's no longer as effective without as much threat of a blow-by putting defenders on their heels. The problem is, Wemby had multiple games where he was struggling with his shot, so Fox had the mentality that, well, I'm the vet making 45 mil, I need to take over. And because Wemby's not really a guard initiating the offense, even though he often plays like a guard, the ball ended up in Fox's hands in big moments more often than not. Mitch Johnson then fell into the same trap that Kenny Atkinson did. His GM traded for a fading star player who's lost a step, which in turn obligates you to play him over younger, more athletic two-way players who won't kill you on defense in the fourth quarter. Such as the man who should have been playing over him at times and helping guard Brunson, Dylan Harper, who as some of you have seen was the youngest player in NBA history to score 20 points in the NBA Finals. People will blame Fox for his questionable decisions in the fourth quarter of Game 4, but really blowing a 29-point lead by not being able to rest Wemby and rely on Fox to score more was a bigger issue. In the fourth quarter of that game, Wemby went 2 for 9 and 1 for 4 from the free throw line, clearly exhausted, and Fox went 1 for 5. Harper played 9 minutes but only shot twice, going 1 for 2 even though he was the Spurs' best player all night and helped them build that big lead in the second quarter. Unfortunately, Fox was still played more minutes than Harper in the closeout Game 5, going 3 for 15 for 7 points while Harper went 10 for 19 for 25. Granted, is Harper getting more freedom from single coverage while Wemby and Fox are getting doubled? Yes, we often overlook that when just looking at stats. But when you actually watch the film, Fox just wasn't the old Fox, and Harper was playing extremely well. Finally to Wemby. I have been on record on this channel, as have many others, that Victor Wembanyama seems to be the first young superstar to come in around a long time that has that old school competitive drive mentality that many of us miss. It's not a coincidence he thinks this way, with both parents coming from an athletic background, his father being a 6'6" track star and his mother being a 6'2" former professional basketball player. However, with all the individual and team success he's had this year, it's easy to forget that he's still only 22. While his mentality is strong in many areas, especially our gratefulness towards him for the revival of the All-Star game, he was mentally exposed in this finals. First, his comments that, "I'm in your head" to Mitchell Robinson was ironic due to the fact that during games 4 and 5 of the series, it appeared the Knicks were in Wemby's head. Secondly, his reaction to winning the Western Conference Finals. Sure, the Thunder were the best team in the league this year, and were the defending champions, and had just swept the Lakers. But the Thunder were missing their second and third best offensive players in Jalen Williams and AJ Mitchell. And let's be honest, you beat them in 7 games, it wasn't like it was a sweep. Victor's reaction after the game gave me pause, because it showed his mentality was thinking, once we get past the Thunder, the championship against the East will be easy. They acted like they had already won something. All-time greats, of course, always had confidence going into the finals, but it was clear he overlooked the Knicks a bit in games 1 and 2. I applaud him for waking up in Game 3 and playing probably his best game of the series on both ends. And in Game 4, he came out blazing in the first quarter, going 5 for 7. But in building a 29-point lead, he completely ran out of gas and looked exhausted in the fourth quarter. He had a great shot alteration on Jalen Brunson with 30 seconds to go, but after De'Aaron Fox was blocked by OG, the Spurs made the same mistake that condemned them to suffer at the hands of Ray Allen 14 years earlier, By having Wemby double Brunson, they had no rebounding in the paint, leaving OG Anunoby, who led the whole playoffs in win shares by the way, to make the biggest shot in Knicks history. He also didn't have the cachet behind the scenes to shift more Spurs possessions toward Dylan Harper, which is not really his fault, but other veteran superstars like Jimmy Butler or Steph might have pushed for that in the huddle. Now to the last and most important part that he has to work on, his craftsmanship of how to win games. Wemby controls the game expertly on the defensive end of the floor, and outside of Game 5, Jalen Brunson actually had a very inefficient finals. But Winter has no idea how to control a game offensively yet. He briefly touched on it against the Thunder, saying that he didn't put his teammates in positions to succeed well. And that's a good awareness from him, it was definitely true. But it's more than that. He takes threes when he's tired, he just drives in chaotically and throws something up when he has energy. He needs to give his teammates a reliable read on what he's doing and what he's doing with his footwork. When he's just playing random basketball, the Spurs struggle. When he's thinking about how the defense is playing him and using his footwork and length to get deep into the paint, the Spurs are the best team in basketball. If he can figure this out, with Dylan Harper ascending, I have no doubt that the Spurs can win multiple championships in his career, and even as soon as next year. Bottom line, Jalen and Mike Brown had a stronger mentality than Mitch and Wemby this series, but going forward, Wemby and Mitch can learn a lot from rewatching especially Game 4, and this can challenge Wemby to also work on his conditioning and footwork to be more efficient with his energy going forward. Wemby has a great mental foundation. If he does some refinement and takes his lumps just like Brunson and the Knicks had to go through, they can be a dynasty. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you're able to subscribe or sign up as a member or even hype the video, anything would help me grow the channel. Much love, y'all. Peace.
Victor, I know it's the end of a tough series. I'm just wondering if you can put into words what it was like to watch that team celebrate a championship on your home floor, and does that give you and the team maybe motivation, fuel going into whatever's next?
I think that's compared to anything before, this is the biggest lesson of my life, the biggest learning moment. I can't tell exactly what the lesson is, but we're learning from that for sure. I'm learning more than any other time in my life before.
I really did want to stay in Dallas. Before my fourth season in Dallas, my last season in Dallas, we tried to extend our contract, whatever we can get. The most we can get was like 4 years and $55 million. Obviously, we wanted to do that. I wanted to stay there. I thought I would be there for a long time, and I liked my role there. It's funny because my agent was like, you can get more, you can get more. I'm saying like, well, like I want to be safe. Like, I'm not trying to gamble right now. This is not something you really gamble with if it's out there. But they were like, we want to see where we're at 20, 25 games into the season. But we were like, all right, well, if we're not going to do it, I kind of don't want to do it until after the season. I'm not trying to think about this.
During the season, right.
There's a period where Luka went out and I started to start. I was playing really well. I think I was averaging like 20 and like 6 maybe. And so we went back. We're like, hey, like if the deal's there, we're thinking about it. Like I'll do it. Like right now. Still, it was no. It wasn't a hard no. It was just like, we want to see. So I'm
So
like,
this was Dallas.
this is Dallas. It's still in Dallas.
Okay.
Trade deadline comes. I'm like thinking, like, all right, if I'm not getting extended, I'm probably going to get traded. The way I've been playing, like, there's just like,
Playing well, right?
I'm playing somewhat decent. That didn't happen. And then the deal came on the table after the trade deadline. I was like, no, I think I've outgrown that now. Obviously going to playoffs, Luka gets hurt. He's out for the first 3 games. And I obviously did what I did. So yeah, we lose in the Western Conference Finals. And I remember seeing something on Twitter and it was like Mark saying, hey, like we can pay him the most money. Like, he says it in an interview, like literally right after the game. And so I'm thinking like, all right, okay. After that, it was like crickets. And obviously I saw like New York making moves. I was like close to home, an hour away from where I was born.
Yeah.
So I started thinking like, this could be a real thing.
Best move you made.
I mean, you're the king of New York City.
Nah,
You're the king of New York City.
no.
You could probably walk in any restaurant in New York City and get a reservation on the spot.
That's self-centered.
I'm gonna call one of the nicest restaurants in New York City right now.
Okay.
Keen Steakhouse.
Great steakhouse.
You've ever ate there?
Actually haven't, but I've heard a lot of very good things.
Because you couldn't
It's on the
get
top
a-
of every list. Can I get a res?
We're gonna call Keen Steakhouse right now.
Okay.
And I just want you to talk to him and see if you can get a reservation for tonight. You and 2 of your buddies.
Okay.
And I have a script for you.
All right.
Steakhouse, good evening.
Hi, how you doing? This is Jalen Brunson, and I'm wondering if I can get a table tonight with 2 of my teammates.
Table for 2 tonight?
Table for 3.
For 3 tonight, we can do, I want to say, 7:45.
We want 6.
Actually, is it possible? Can we do 6 or 6:30?
the thing is, we're pretty busy at those times. Tonight, the Rangers play at the Garden.
Go to the next line.
So was that a yes for 6 or no for 6?
This one will work.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. Let me check.
Okay, thank you.
Just practice it on mute.
Did you not hear me, bitch?
Yeah, sorry about that. It's gonna have to be 7:45, sir.
7:45?
Yeah.
Even for the King of New York?
Give me 1 second, please.
Put me on hold.
Harder. Good. Jog back. Go get the ball. I'm gonna throw it to the fence if you don't jog back. Here we go. Go. Good.